apologize. I was wrong. Just so we clear, so that we understand how the double standard impacts women. Because this is how men think about it. Women control access to sex. If a woman says no, that's it. No. Women control access to sex. Men control access to relationships and marriage.
Hold on a minute. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. Because I can see that already is something that would be very divisive for people. Yeah,
It
because
is.
as you were speaking, you said very correctly, women control access to sex through
Mm-hmm.
very various means, whether passively or actively. Yeah, because women's hormones, time of the month, they control access to sex. My
Yeah.
question to you is, whenever we get around to it, what does a man control in today in a relationship? What is he supposed to control?
The access to the relationship. That is what
But
the
some
man.
women, but some women will not agree with that. Some women will say,
But look,
you
look,
know
look.
what, I could choose if I want to be with a man or not. I don't need a man, or I could choose if I want to be single or not. So I want you
This
to
is
I want you to clarify. I want you to let me dumb it down
okay.
or
Yeah.
or
Let,
or
let me, let
break
me
it
break
down.
it
Yeah,
down like let me break it down like a fraction, right?
yeah.
A lady can decide she wants to be single, and that's fine. But if she ever comes to the point where she doesn't want to be single, she cannot look at a man and say, we in a relationship. She can't. Whether she likes that man for years, whether she even sleeping with that man will be the person to decide, you know what? Use my girl. Let me go and get married. Let me whatever. Let me make
The
this
man
official.
proposes. The man proposes.
Let me
That's the thing. The man
and
proposes. That is
supposes
the
there,
standard.
there have been exceptions to that where we may have proposed. Right?
Agreed.
We get it. But 90% of the time, I would go as far as 95, 98% of the time, a man is the person who says, hey, come and take a walk with me, as my aunt would say. You know? So whether you got children for the man, you sleeping with this man, if that man does not make the conscious decision to say, yeah, use my girl and something, nah, you can't force it. You can't browbeat that man. You can say what you like. You could before sex and stuff like that. You can try to manipulate whatever it is you can to get access to that relationship. But guess what? If that man decides, you know, I don't want this relationship, it's not going to happen.
But hold on. We got a lot of comments going off here. And
Oh, I
I
figured it would.
specifically want to get to Tonya. Tonya, thanks for joining. She has some very interesting questions because
Go ahead,
let
go
me go
ahead.
up first. Nikita wanted to know what access explained, which is, Tanya says, hey guys, should any of you seriously consider a woman with a visible reputation? Double standard aside. Tanya, I don't know if what you mean with visible reputation. If you mean, like, I don't, and I asked you to clarify that because I don't know if you mean if she is in the public eye, if she was, you know,
Known to the streets,
yeah,
as we say.
yeah, but how known? Because
Yeah.
she's saying with a visible reputation. I don't know how that sort of thing, unless you're a public figure or you are, let's be honest, a street worker. I don't know how that would be a visible reputation. So I will need clarification on that. I don't know if Derek you can answer that, but the next question she has though, but Derek, doesn't that go both ways in terms of access to relationship? Like I would assume that's what she means. And before you answer that, I can go to Kwame. Kwame says that access to relationship control ends on marriage though. So choose wisely. Anything after that is typically at the woman initiating divorce, typically having the children, destruction of wealth, etc. So good question.
Oh, oh
Um,
my Kwame,
yo,
he edited, he edited. He's been
well, hold on,
researching.
hold on, hold on. What we gonna have to do next time is we gonna have to find a way for you to get the chat on screen because everybody is engaging in dialogue. So yeah, Tanya is gonna give us an example
Yeah.
as we continue. No, I do agree with you in terms of access to relationship, right? Because in pretty much all of my relationships, all of my interaction and engagement, the women look to me to say what we is, what
Yeah.
we doing.
What are
Yeah,
we? What are we?
right? That
What
question does not come
what
from,
is this?
what is this? That question generally does not come from men, it comes from women. Why? Because men take
If you
that
got
initiative.
access to the sex.
Exactly, right? But I want people to understand. I know it's a very touchy and hot button thing because a lot of people now are very independent. A lot of people think that, if I want a man, I could get a man. If I don't want a man, I don't have to get a man. Or I could get rid of man, I could dump the man. We've had all this, a lot of these things going around where it empowers women. Yeah. But let's be clear. If a woman controls sex and men are not, because remember, a lot of people, a lot of women don't like the term of a man controlling finances or being the main breadwinner. So a man does not control finances, he does not control sex. What does he control in a relationship? He controls the security in terms of the literal protection of the family. To me, that is something that, you know you call kind of defend your own, if you understand me, and it doesn't
Mhm.
speak to the actual um, tangible, sorry, the intangible chords of the relationship, the fabric and foundation of the relationship, because at the end of the day, you controlling sex, yeah, which is fine. Whenever you hormones, fibroids, I know women have a myriad of things that will prevent them from having sex. It's not like tonight you ain't getting none. Is I'm not even meaning it like that, right? Men, a man can't come and say, yeah, I can give you $500, gonna spend my money. We can't do that. That's misogynistic. That is archaic in societal norms where we are today. So then I am gonna ask the chat, especially people that may be triggered by that comment of access to relationship is controlled by a man, sex controlled by a woman. What do men control in a relationship? If we don't control the finances, if we don't control sex, if we don't control the emotional, uh, essential, what I want to say, the essential path of a relationship, the emotional path of a relationship, what do we control in a relationship? All right, so let me go back to Tanya. Well, if the guys say what you said, you gave an example. Okay, I still don't understand, Tanya. I'm not trying to be difficult, but so many things going on. So um, I don't want to seem dismissive. I legit don't understand. I don't know if Derek can give insight
All
into
right,
it, but
I will take a swing at it. I
right.
assume if she means some person who has been out there and their relationship history is kind of like known to the public. Not
Okay.
necessarily that they're a public figure, but they've been around the block so often. Everybody knows, Um, excuse me. The Here's the thing about the double standard and the body count and stuff like that. It depends. It's going to vary from person to person, from man to man, because as you get older, men tend to, because what we would tolerate now, we certainly would have tolerated 10 years ago. We would not have accepted 10 years ago. It might more seasoned years. I like to say
Yeah,
seasoned.
just to clarify, Tanya is saying that you're answering the question, so you get it, you understand it.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks for that, Tanya.
So
Tonya.
I am a big Chris Rock fan, right? And from one of his earlier stand-ups, he said, with regard to the body count, you know, a man is never satisfied with what he hears. You know, she could say two, and the man be like, two, two. That's how he was raised. Two, you know. So it's never going to be low enough. And he also said, why are you asking? It's not like you're putting on a flag no way, you're discovering nothing. So why ask? So with regard to that, is going to vary from man to man in terms of what that man is willing to deal with, what his, in terms of how broad is his back in terms of dealing with certain comments that he may get, snide remarks that may come or whatever. Some guys might be able to deal with a person who has had 20, 30 persons. Somebody might say, nah, that's too much for me. Anything more than five, yo. You know what I mean? So that's something that is going to vary from person to person. What I will say with regard to the body count, and I'm going to say this on both sides, the coin, male and female. The challenge with the body count, why it becomes so important, is for something like peer bonding, because the more people you interact with, the harder it becomes.
Oh, so ties.
It
Preach. Get them pasta. Get them pasta.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
more difficult it becomes for you to kind of settle with one person, and that's just a scientific thing, scientific fact. I'm not big on the science, but that's just what it is, because we've interacted with so many people.
All right, wait, hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Renee is here making mention that she thinks Tanya wants to know about us specifically, us two specifically, when we're talking about a woman that if she's visibly known, if she's somebody that, and I have been in relationships, Tanya, I could say that I've been in relationships with women that their dating history was very public. I have dated people where I have been asked, oh, you know, yeah, that's you,
super
you know.
bad, super bad. Yeah. But you know.
But yeah. You answer the question.
Ignore this guy. Yeah. So I, on the other hand, have not had that experience where maybe somebody whose history is that well known. I've never been down that road. I've been involved with people casually where their body count was like, "Whoa, okay," you know. But I never had the opportunity to be in a relationship with somebody whose count was something that made me go like, okay. And then I had to because I get the impression that as you said, when people see with the person is like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had
and
that.
that sounds like something that you would have to really have nerves of steel to deal with, especially if it's something that comes often.
But you see, the thing is for me, right? So, I actually had this relation. I've had a few relationships with women that they were known, not necessarily that they're known to the streets, but they've had very public relationships and very public, like, arguments and breakups. And, Barbados is a small community, right? So, this body date this body and this body popular. So I've dated those people. Yeah. And I have gotten a lot of questions from as low down as my peers to as high as my mother, like, I know this person through the public sphere, and yeah. But for me personally, I would know, because again, I used to ask that question, right? And I would hear the response, but to me, and it's so funny because I'm thinking of one particular relationship where the person was a very popular person in Barbados, very well-known person in Barbados. And I remember her telling me, I asked the question and she told me, yeah. And I remember saying, okay, it wasn't high, it wasn't like ridiculous or anything. Well, again, it's subjective. For me, yeah, it wasn't like the woman ain't batting like a half century or quarter century, right? But for me, I took it as, okay, you have had these. I did not ask the right question. The question I asked was how many relationships or how many previous sexual partners you've had. She gave me the list, and she gave me the this person, that person, overseas, this place, that place. And I remember not asking the right questions because the way the relationship ended, if I had asked, pointed, and the joke is, after the relationship ended, a lot of people came out the woodwork and said, oh, you and this person done? That makes sense because the person is not someone, the person runs from, like, I don't want to say she's fickle, but for lack of a better term, she's fickle. As soon as the romance wears off, as soon as the honeymoon phase is gone, when you get to the real challenges, of life, when you get to the real nitty gritty of, okay, this is day 348 that we've been together. And it ain't no more, I want to see you naked. You know what I'm saying? It's what you chew, you more open. You know what I'm saying? And in my state of heartbreak, a lot of people were coming forward and saying, we didn't want to tell you anything, but she left a man at the altar. We didn't want to say anything, but she was engaged before. We didn't want to say, and it was like, yo. What you
Unfortunately,
already tell me? Yeah, what
that's
you
how it
inform me
goes.
and right. But you see, if I had asked the pointed question as these relationships failed, why did they fail? I only asked her really about one relationship that failed, and it was, I think, the most meaningful to her. I asked her why that failed, and she gave me the answer, and it made sense based on who the person was, who's also a very popular person, well known, etc. Right? So Tony, I don't know if that answers the question. For me personally, I have no problem in dating that person. But as I said, as I've gotten older, and even recently, I have understood that it is very important to ask pointed questions. Not yes, you can ask that question, but really and truly, as you get to know the person better, and the person has a level of vulnerability and trust in you, then yeah, you have to ask them questions of, yeah, so what you got a child and you got a child father and we're in together. All right, so he horn you. Fine, no problem. So what happened with this other guy? You tell me you was dating for 3 years with this guy. Okay, he did something atrocious. Fine, no problem. But what about, like, as you say, none of you come out the gate. Especially the older we get. And the thing about it is, for me personally, and I was explaining this to somebody, a female friend of mine, last night, the older I have gotten, the less the number
Matters.
Because let's be honest, let's be honest, right? We as spring chickens, we've been out there. Yeah, we've
It's been a while.
we circled the village a couple times.
It's been a while.
And I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a village ram type of context. Huh? We have circled the block a couple of times, and as we engage women that would have also circled the block a couple of times too. None we ain't out there dating children, women. Yeah, we ain't dating about fresh out of university. Yeah. So the point is that when you ask a woman that's 38, for example, yeah, how many people you sleep with? Yeah. You can't get Betsy. Woman tell you that she over 15. Like you can't be like, oh my God. The woman put it like if she's 38 and she started at, let's say, 18, that's 20 years of history.
Yeah.
Some years she may have had committed relationships, and some years the woman might say, no, I just need to get this itch. I just need to have some fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I just want to take in, Tony, I hope, I haven't read the chat, but I hope I've answered your question. And also, I want people to know that I want men to stop hearing numbers. Again, it's subjective, but you hear these numbers and you're like, oh my God, she sleep with 10 people? Oh God. The woman is 30. So
yeah. Give or take.
I was wrong.